What three words come into your head when I say the word prison?
Um, drug abuse, sexual abuse, and weapons.
Why's that?
Because those are offenses that I associate with prison,
All right.
long-term offenses.
Okay.
Prison. Orange is the New Black. Great show. Jumpsuits. And probably violence.
All right. And why's that?
The media kind of depicts that most of the people that go to jail are violent, so that's violence. Orange is the New Black because I really like that show. It's really funny. And orange jumpsuits just because that's what they wear.
Rape, violence, and prison guards.
Why's that?
Violence because there's a lot of criminals in there who were convicted of violence, so they carry their traits through their sentence. Rape because there's a lot of reported stories of criminals purposely hurting their other inmates. And prison guards because there are a lot of infamous stories of the prison guards treating the prisoners with disrespect.
Crime, drugs, and black men.
All right. And why?
From my experience, from where I grew up, most of the people I seen go to prison were black males my age. It was crime related, and most of the times it was drug related also. So.
As of October of this year, what percentage of federal inmates do you think are serving time for drug offenses?
Drug offenses, 45.
What about violent offenses?
30.
Probably like 65.
All right. And what about violent charges?
Probably 47.
Drug offenses, I'd say about 75 to 80%.
What about violent offenses?
Violence, about 65 to 70.
I'm not. I would say more are in on drug charges, less on violent charges. If I was to give a percentage, I'd say 60 on drug charges, 60%. Violent charges, 20.
All right. You were really close with the drug offenses, 48.3%. And then you were a little off with violent offenses. Only 2.9% of inmates are in for violent offenses, unless you include sexual offenses, which you mentioned. And that still only brings up the total percentage to 11%. All right, close-ish, I guess. The first one, the drug charges, that's actually 48.9%. And the violent charges are only 2.9. Unless you count sexual charges, which brings that up to still a low 11.2%. All right, so drug offenses are actually only 48.3%. And violent offenses are only 2.9% of all inmates. Unless you include sexual offenses, and that still only brings the number up to 11.2%. All right, you were actually pretty close with the drug charges. It's actually 48.9, and then violent charges are actually only at 2.9%. Unless you include sexual offenses, and that brings it up to still only 11.2%.
Wow. Wow.
As you can see, the media representation of the prison system clearly influences the public opinion on what happens inside the prison, who is inside the prison, and what they are doing. Clearly, drugs are supposedly right there with violence, if not a little bit less, in the public opinion. Violence supposedly is a higher percentage. This is the media playing the role. Whereas, in reality, 12% of the people in prisons are there because of violence. The larger majority, almost 50%, are in due to drug use.